Hi, welcome to part 6 of this module on strategic thinking, where we're going to be talking about the principle of including others as a strategic thinker. Now, you might be thinking, why didn't you talk about including others at the very beginning of this module? Because I could have been using that principle throughout this entire module so far, and you're absolutely correct. When you're thinking about being outcomes focused, you should be including others. When you're thinking about understanding the context of your situation and doing a SWOT analysis, you should be including others in that process. When you're looking at the capabilities of your people, your processes, your technology, and your structure, absolutely include others in that process. And then obviously in the last part, asking good questions. Generally, you're asking questions to others and including others in that process. So this is just a general principle of being a strategic thinker, is we need to include others as much as possible throughout the process. Now, because of the nature of this course and the understanding that most of you are probably not able to get together with your entire team, and definitely it's much harder to get together with a larger group of people outside of your team throughout this week and throughout each module. It's probably hard for you to do so. I totally understand if you went through the aspects of this module so far without including very many other people, but you have the opportunity, and I encourage you in the future as you continue to move forward with your vision to reach out to others and get their input as well. Okay, so how can we include others? Well, in the previous parts of this module, we've really already talked about a lot of ways to include others, but basically the main question is, how do we involve other people in giving input into our strategic plan and our strategy, right? So obviously we can involve our team in giving strategic input. How do you do that when those are the questions you want to think about? You can also think about who else does or did similar work to our ministry, and how can we pull them in or just ask them questions as well? What can we learn from those people, right? And what external people or resources could give input into our strategy? Those are just some of the high-level questions you want to think about. Years ago, I did consulting with a big mission group here in Thailand, and they had a policy of once every 3 years, they redid their strategic plan. And they made a big deal about it. They not only involved their entire team in the strategic planning process, but they actually invited people in for a several-day, almost like a think tank, strategic thinking time, where they pulled people in from all over the nation who did similar work to them. They pulled in people from the Department of Education, from teachers. They pulled in people who are community specialists. They pulled in government workers, police, social workers, anything that related to the type of work they were doing. They invited people in to a several-day event, almost like a conference, where they allowed people to get up front and share what was going on in their ministry and their line of work that related to their ministry. And what were the trends going on? What were some of the difficulties, some of the challenges, some of the things they had tried that were working? And every few years, they'd pull these people together and learn from them and use the information they gathered during that time to improve and revise and refine their vision and strategy, mostly their strategy of how to achieve that vision, right? Brilliant approach to continuously updating their strategy. Now, when I think about the ALLC, we involved a lot of people in developing the original approach and strategy for the ALLC. We formed a small core team of people who had a strong heart and a considerable amount of time they were able to give towards developing the strategy for the ALLC. So we used their input as that core team. And we also had a larger group of I believe it was about 12 YWAM elders throughout Asia at the time who had a strong heart for developing our future generation of leaders within YWAM. And they all came together on a quarterly basis and gave input as to what they thought would help in developing and multiplying leaders. So they were a huge input to developing our strategy for the ALLC. And then we went beyond that and said, well, let's get as much input as we can from our actual leaders and emerging leaders within YWAM. So we got about input from probably around 500 YWAM leaders throughout Asia, letting us know what they thought the most important leadership needs were that they had that they'd like help with. So we got input from them. And then we even went outside of YWAM and contacted a few organizations that were Christian organizations who also worked in the realm of leadership development, and we asked for their input as well. One particular organization called Synergy Commons was a great assistance. They focus specifically on how to develop network collaborations, which in a sense is part of what the ALLC is about, is collaborating amongst YWAM leaders throughout different regions of the world, right? How do we develop such a network? That group gave us great input and strategy of how to create a network. Just some examples on how you can include others in your process.